Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. And now, the champion, fighting out of Los Angeles, California. This man is a movie snob with a background in fighting and a lifelong addiction to all things superhero related. Presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the show, the Iron Koob.
Alright, welcome to the show, everybody. This episode is number 128 of the Iron Koob Fights movies. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and hosted by SoundCloud. We now have a Facebook page for the podcast you can follow for updates, as well as my 1/6 scale figure reviews. This week, the team reviews The King on Netflix, followed by movie, television, and video game news. I'm Kier, your host. With me on the show today are my co-hosts Emerson.
Hey, what's going on?
And Everette.
Hey, what's up?
Alright, before we get started, I want to tell you guys a funny story I just had at the dog park.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there and I'm about to leave. I grab my keys off the table, and some butch lady and her friend are they start asking me questions about my dogs because I have cute looking dogs. So and everyone wants to know what breed Sirius is because he looks kind of weird. So she starts talking to me about that, and then she starts telling me about how her Chihuahua died, and they had they spread his ashes at the park there. And I was like, oh, is that the Chihuahua that I've seen that's his pictures are posted everywhere? And she's like, yeah, that's him. His name was Puppy or something. And so she starts talking to me about how her dog died, which is pretty bad, whatever. And then she starts talking about shelters and no-kill shelters and stuff like that. She's like, Michigan just passed a state law that says no more kill shelters. And I was like, that's interesting. She's like, I don't know how people do that. How can you kill all those dogs? I'm like, yeah, that's a bad job. And she's like, I don't want to undermine the Holocaust with what I'm about to say.
Oh my
god. But I'm gonna say it anyway. And I'm like, uh-huh. And people are looking at me like, is this guy like her? Or it was horribly awkward. And she goes, but killing all those dogs is just like throwing a bunch of them into a gas chamber. Oh. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I didn't know what to say. I get the point that she's making, but
yeah.
It's for completely different reasons. So
and
it's not
it probably
really
hurt her argument to I'm going to directly compare this to the Holocaust.
Yeah, that's like when I say, when we're doing the show and I'm like, I don't want to sound racist, and I proceed to say it, I proceed to make a logical point, but it's always racist. you can't, it's too late. But, so she says that, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And this is the problem when you're nice to people and you don't normally I don't know why I was being nice. Normally I just keep to myself. I like to listen to the podcast while I'm at the dog park or whatever. So I entertained her, and then she asked me, so is it just you and your puppies? I'm like, no, I have a wife. And she looks at her friend. She's like, oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. There's no single guys here that come with just dogs. They're all taken already. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Thank God I said that. Holy shit.
So what, her Holocaust comment was flirting?
Dude, I don't know, but I feel like I dodged a huge bullet. And then another thing I just remembered, hopefully they don't listen to this podcast, but one time, normally when I'm at the gym too, I don't go to the public gym anymore, but one time when I was at the gym, I usually just keep to myself and just work out. One time, some guy comes up to me and he starts complimenting my muscles, and I'm like, I don't know if you guys are aware, but people do that. It's kind of weird.
I'm aware. I see it sometimes at the gym, and it's always it's creepy. It's the equivalent of being dude, you work hard. It's yep.
Remember that Coyote Crew where I had the beard joke?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's just like that. Like guys will act like you accomplish something by having a beard.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you could put some effort into your beard, but it grows on its own. So yeah, like the one time the guy started talking to me about workouts. Like he came up to me, he's like, "Wow, you got big arms." And I'm like, "Thanks." And he's like, "What do you do?" So I should have been an asshole. Anyway, this dude started showing up to my work, like, because he started to get to know me after that. He was showing up to the library all the time. He would bring me razors. He'd be like, "Here, I know you said like you don't have a good razor, so I brought you some razors," and they're like the disposable
God.
razors. Like, and he comes to my work and asks for me. He calls. It was when I worked at the library. He calls the library and they pick up the phone. They're like, "Calabasas Library." He's like, "Kia," every time.
Oh my god.
You had a stalker, Jesus.
Anyway, yeah, that went on for, I don't know if I knew you then, but that went on for a while. It was like a couple years of that. And then I think he got mad at me. He finally got mad. He was an old guy. I forget. He wanted me to move in with him because at the time, it was, I think, right before I met Jade, and I was having crazy problems with my mom. I'm like, I got to get out of here. And then he also like knew someone that I knew that was my age, and so he kind of knew more about me because of that. It was bad, and like I hope I don't keep running into this lady and then this shit happens again, because I just think back, if I had been an asshole to him, none of that would have happened. But anyway, back to the king. Here's the synopsis. Young Henry V encounters deceit, war, and treachery after becoming King of England in the 15th century in the aftermath of his brother's death. Alright, I'm going to explain our rating system. On this show, we give the titles that we have watched a rating of win, draw, or loss. A win is a title that we would highly recommend, while a draw is a title we didn't love but recognize others may appreciate. A loss means we do not recommend the title. If you have not seen the review of the week and would like to avoid spoilers, check the show notes for the timestamp so you can still hear our news sections. So I think we're going to give our ratings and go right into spoilers, because I really want to talk about historical accuracy.
Yeah,
And,
I'd like to as well.
Yeah, you can't really do that unless you talk spoilers. So who wants to give their rating?
I volunteer.
You
All right,
go
go
first every week.
It's
Didn't
true.
you go first last week?
All right, touche.
Yes, I
never
did.
mind.
No, Everett did.
I know.
Because we said Everett, yeah.
Yeah. Now that that's settled, so I give this a win, but there's a small caveat here of that, this probably isn't for everybody. So if you like historical movies, or if you like sort of more medieval type dramas, then yes, it's a win, go see it. But if you don't have a great attention span, or if you aren't big on like a lot of people talking and like slow burn, then you might not enjoy it. But for me, it was a win. I really liked seeing just the intrigue surrounding what would happen, the rise of Henry, the eventual big battle, which is something that I've studied a little bit, and the ending. I thought it was quite nice, although a bit weaker than I would have liked. So it's a win, but I acknowledge that not everybody would be into it.
Everett?
I'm going to give this movie a win as well, but for specifically a little bit different reasons. So, as you guys are talking about historical accuracies and stuff, so I'm not a big history buff. I don't really know a lot about that stuff.
Okay.
So, while I was watching this movie, I consistently, I was comparing it to Game of Thrones a lot. So I gave it a win because I like the acting. I loved the action. And there's a few scenes I'll point out when we get into spoilers eventually that reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones that I really enjoyed. Not to mention it looks really great. Like this is definitely one of those movies that I would watch again if I was bored. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, just basic win. I'll give it a win.
All right, for me it's a draw, even though I like the film. But I did have some problems with it. Like, I thought it starts off kind of slow, like you said, Emerson. There's a lot of talking, but it's not even the talking. It starts off pretty slow. Obviously, he becomes a king, and I think the movie picks up a lot more at that point. But Emerson, you said if you like historical movies and medieval dramas, I think if you like medieval dramas, but I like the history side, and as we'll talk about it in spoilers, this movie plays with that a little too much.
Oh yeah, I agree. But the thing is, the one thing that I think history people would really like is the battle. Specifically how
Yeah.
it goes down, because that's fairly accurate, although not entirely.
I mean, one of the best parts of it is a complete fabrication.
That's true.
And a lot of the buildup is a complete fabrication as well. So, anyway, yeah, I felt like it went a little small. It's a little hard to access. They use a lot of vocabulary that's not like alien. It's just like I'm not totally familiar with how society works in that scenario, and you just keep getting introduced to different people, and they have weird titles, and the war or the battles or whatever are. I mean, I guess you have to know, like, the movie starts with that one guy, the Hotspur guy, doing, like, he's ending a rebellion or something. I don't know. And then
and then he rebels.
yeah, it's like, well, I don't know what he was doing. I thought they were fighting that enemy, and then it's not really about whatever he was doing. It's about then him getting mad and going against the rebels, and that's when I started to like look up the historical accuracy. So anyway, yeah, let's get into spoilers now. So that duel, okay, the brother that's played by Tommen from Game of Thrones. He's also in the 1917 movie. That brother Thomas, he did not die, or he did not have any sort of duel like that, did he?
No.
That whole thing is made up.
Yes.
And to me, that was a mistake, because they're adding like a twist and turn in the first act, but I assume for budgetary reasons they kill him off screen. So they're like, oh, by the way, the brother, like you were the heir, and then it's gonna be your brother, and then the brother dies, so now you're the heir. It's like that's a lot of people you introduced me to, and then like the main guy died off screen, and now we're like kind of back at square one. Wouldn't it be easier if he just didn't want the throne, but the dad wanted him to have the throne? And also, like, the brother was never in line for the throne like that, was he?
How do you mean?
Like, did they pass up the older brother?
They can. I don't know specifically if they passed
they,
Henry up there.
I don't think they did, because I tried to find it. I don't think they ever said it was going to be Thomas instead, because he's a drunk. Henry's a drunk or whatever. Or Hal is what he's called. Hal's a drunk, so we're going to go with Thomas. And then, so I don't think that happened. I think he just ascended to the throne. And then that whole duel with the Hotspur, the Hotspur guy, he didn't die like that. I don't know what that was.
No, yeah, that. I mean, so you should know this is more based off the play than
That's
the
what I was.
event.
So like Henry the Fifth has a historical presence and then also a Shakespearean presence.
Yes.
But even the play is like, is this a play?
The Henry V play, like portions of this, I read it a long time ago, but there are portions of the play that are similar to this, where it's like this high drama and he's being hoodwinked and he's doing all the things he said he never would, and you can see how Shakespearean it is because he's a peacemaker who ends up being a warmonger.
Yeah. So anyway, that part kind of, like, I didn't mind the fighting. I didn't really believe that he could beat that other kid though, the Hotspur guy.
Yeah.
So then he just sort of stabs him, but it was a smart play to bring him to the ground. And then, okay, he becomes king, and I really liked the acting. I thought Timothée Chalamet was pretty good.
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn was great. Joel Edgerton was great. The one
I was
guy,
surprised he was in this.
yeah, well, he takes a lot of weird roles, but Robert Pattinson. This was originally on my radar because I liked, it looked like a gritty medieval movie, but also because of the Batman thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did this play out for you guys? With like, are you more excited to see him as Batman now?
I just thought it was... Here, you go, Everett.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. Because on one hand, he was okay in this movie. Like, it wasn't terrible. But on the other hand, it kind of lowers my hype for the Batman. But Batman's kind of been like all over the news now anyway. The one thing in this movie though, I couldn't get past his accent. That's literally the only thing.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. There's been some buzz about his accent. I'm not sure if people like it or hate it, but people keep talking about it.
For me, what was interesting is I've never seen Robert Pattinson play this type of role, where he's supposed to be like an antagonist and like kind of an asshole, but also a moron. So like I just thought it was strange to watch him play this. It wasn't, as Everett said, it wasn't necessarily bad, but there was something about it that doesn't engender a lot of confidence for the Batman.
He was trying to be funny in this, wasn't he?
It appeared as though he was.
Honestly, I feel like everyone's just trying to have him break out of his Twilight roles. Like,
I think he was.
that's literally what he's known for.
Well, yeah, but he's done a lot. He's done Harry Potter. He just did The Lighthouse. He did Water for Elephants, which he was good in, but I don't think that his acting is very good. I don't think he's a good actor. But he definitely seemed like he was trying to be an over the top French guy. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe.
So the guy he was playing, the Dufon, he was kind of like that though. He was just an over the top, like, bit of a jerk. So, I mean,
people are pretty mixed on the accent. To me, it didn't sound right.
I thought his face looked weird while he was doing it.
He sounded kind of like a caricature, to be honest. Like how someone might. Well, no, I know, but like the whole thing I was thinking about when I was seeing him on screen was I was thinking about my improv classes, because we have like a one rule in our classes that say you're allowed to do any accent so long as it's like not a caricature and it's not like racist. And I just kept thinking to myself,
what's the point of it doing an accent then?
Well, you're allowed to do an accent. Basically, the rule is you're allowed to do the accent if you're the same color as the person who does the accent. So, like, a white person can't do like a hardcore African accent because people can get triggered by that. So I'm thinking to myself, like, that's literally what they tell me. So the whole time,
that's so funny though, because it's acting.
Yeah, I know. But like, there's a lot of things, like you can't call people bitches on stage because people get triggered and stuff. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
So why is a girl allowed to play a man then?
Because I think honestly,
like she's gonna do a man voice. Can I not be offended?
Well, no, you could be offended by that, but apparently that's not on the same level as if I walk up on stage and I call a woman a bitch, because the logic there is saying you immediately become the bad guy if you do that.
A bastard.
That's not even you pretending to be something that you're not. You're just calling someone a bitch, and it's acting.
No. And anyway, the point I was trying to make
with this... What is happening to this world?
The point I was trying to make with this was, the whole time I heard his accent, I was imagining someone from my class doing a shitty French accent, and someone like getting yelled at saying like, you can't do that. That's making fun of someone that's not embracing someone.
But he's the same color as a French person.
I know, but there's a difference between doing an accent and like being racist with it, and doing an accent and celebrating it.
I think the worst part about it is that it seems like he worked really hard on the accent. And I think that's probably where you're like, no, it's not working. If you could tell that he was purposely trying to make it like a caricature, you wouldn't judge it as harshly, because you'd be like, oh, he's being like a crazy French guy. But
knowing that he was taking it seriously and it was still coming out that way,
or that, I don't know, like, were we supposed to take him seriously?
I don't. He certainly seemed like he was taking it seriously.
Because in the end, he turns out to be kind of a joke. Uh-huh. So it's like, was he a joke the whole... Like, is that the joke, that he's a joke? I don't know.
I don't... See, that's the thing. I don't think it was trying to make him a joke. Even though that's what it comes off as.
Yeah.
I think that he was meant to be taken seriously, especially, he kills people. Or he participates in the murder of children. So it's like...
Right, they did have that. I forgot about that. They did have that.
That's supposed to be like...
That was a brutal scene.
It was a brutal scene. So, like... But then, you're right, Kia, where it goes from that to, like, stupidity to something else. And the thing is, I don't know. I expected him to be more of, like, a threat. And he just wasn't. So,
How do they film, like, the beheadings? How did they film that?
It's interesting because you usually never see them. It's CGI of some type. My guess is they have like
No.
a block.
I think they did it.
You think so too? No, but what I'm saying is, what I think it is like they put the axe like right up to the guys. They have a stick with like something on top of it that's obviously not sharp. They hit him on the like back of the neck lightly, and then they like throw like a small block in front of him, so they're able to show the head rolling off, and they just CGI the blood around.
They must, yeah.
They can do it in a couple different ways. Basically, you know what? What's it called? Layer photography. You know what that is? Like where you can put one picture on top of another and make it look they're in the same scene. They can do it like that, where they'll take a stick without a blade on it and they'll hit it as hard as they can right next to the guy's head, and then they'll just have him slump off, and then they'll refilm it where the guy hits the real thing with an axe, and then they just layer them over and they add the CGI so it looks like he's getting his head chopped off.
They also had that one shot in the battle, like one take shot or long take. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
That was pretty good too.
It was. And one of the things, if we're going to go into the battle as a whole, I really liked that it just became that stupid, crowded, like, no one's moving around, they're just hitting each other. Because that's kind of what it is, especially in the medieval era. They don't really have, like, there's this idea of, like, the mounted knights and there's all this beautiful sword play. And, like, no.
Yeah.
When the armies met, it was just pushing against each other.
I like that. But one thing was, like, how do they know who's who?
Well, that's the thing. They kind of don't, but they kind of do. Like, if you look, a lot of the guys that are being attacked have the French Royal Doubloon on it, which is like this, or the Schlefeur. They have, like, different, like, insignia on them, beaten into their armor, that allows you to, like, kind of tell, but I had trouble figuring out who was who.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about the battle, I said in my initial review that I was comparing it a lot to Game of Thrones. Kia, did you see the similarity? There was that one shot, I think it was of Falstaff. He was, like, in that crowd, like, from the waist up. It looked exactly like Battle of the Bastards.
But that's because
Jon Snow did it.
People actually did, like, get trampled and suffocate in this battle, like in real life.
This was like a tactical, brilliant battle. Like, the British should not have won. Well, the English should not have won here.
It was, but the movie takes some liberties with how that tactical plan was devised.
Yes.
So I don't like that. Like, that's part of it. It doesn't sit well with me after.
It's the play, I think. The play's influence. And also, I don't know. I think a whole movie could be made about just the Battle of Agincourt, which, like, technically that's really what this movie centers on, but I think that it spends a lot of time on other stuff, which could have instead, like, I'd like to see a movie that starts like they're encamped and they have to figure out what to do and ends with the ending of the Battle of
In
Agincourt.
real life, they didn't, the English side, they didn't run in on the flanks with no armor, did they?
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
They were using massed archers. They had pike divisions.
Yeah.
Also, in real life, they weren't advancing. The Dauphin was cutting off their retreat
The
route.
retreat, yeah.
Yeah, so they had to fight, which I think is a better story, because then it's like, if we don't find a way to win this, we lose. Where in this, it's like, oh, well, I don't want to retreat.
And also, Henry did issue a single combat challenge to the Dauphin, but he didn't respond to it.
No. And also, Henry did execute all the guys after the battle.
Well, I was reading that there's some controversy where they think that maybe they started executing and that caused the French forces to, like, pull back, and then they didn't after that.
Yeah, because there were reserves that hadn't committed yet, and so the idea was, like, if we kill them, they'll, like, not rejoin the battle. But, yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of them have, like, the knights in armor fighting in mud, and that really, like, wore them out by the time they got to the real battle, and then they got hit with archers. I'm okay with any liberties. Oh shit! with
A Rian moment.
I hit my mic with my hand. With any liberties the movie takes in that regard, it's just there's a lot of, like, crazy stuff that happens here that I'm like, did that really happen? And it's like, no, it didn't really happen. Oh, was that guy really there? No, he wasn't there. Did that guy really die like that? No, he didn't die like that.
And then it's just sad when you look it up and you're like, okay, so I'm essentially watching a fiction movie in the clothes of
Yeah, just
history.
tell me that. Like, Saving Private Ryan is fiction. There is D-Day, and there is, like, the invasion of France, but the squad's not real. The adventures they go on, the fictional town they fight in, Ramel, is not real. And I'm okay with that. Like, afterwards, you walk out of the movie, like, wow, let me look that up. Was that based on a real thing? No, it wasn't. Okay. So, but here, when you're trying to present it as, like, history, and this is the guy, because they actually took, like, strange liberties. Like, Timothy Chalamet apparently looks a lot like Henry V. So they, like, there's certain accuracies involved, and I don't know, like, I want to buy into it, but I can't, because none of it happened. So
Right.
like another one, that whole betrayal at the end, like, was that the reason they invaded, was because of his Chief Justice? And it's like, no, that guy was, like, kind of disappeared from history as soon as Henry took over. And the
Yeah, and
reason,
the reality was there was just a long history of trying to conquer France to unite
yeah,
the two
the
kingdoms.
the reason, like, for that one was they were trying to organize some type of marriage, and the French, and there was, like, a dowry, and it was over the girl Christine, whatever her name was. It was over her dowry and certain land, and so they kept negotiating, and, like, the negotiations fell through, so that's why they went to war. And
Yeah.
and that was it. So I don't know. I might have preferred that instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fine. I don't see any reason it wouldn't be interesting.
The only problem with the Chief Justice, like, as good as it is, like, I like that they brought him back in the end and there was a little twist, but it's like a modern twist it's like a modern film twist. Like, the bad guy that was pulling the strings the whole time, you know?
Is revealed, yeah.
I'm okay with that, but it wasn't real. So why don't you just make, like, would you care if it was, like, a fake, if this was all fake? It was a fake king. Everything here was fake. It was just a fictional medieval story. Like a king of England, but, like, not any real king. Just a person.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but the thing is, like, as I said, I like the Battle of Agincourt. I think it's an awesome, like, a really cool battle, and it would sadden me if it was. Would they still have that battle, and it would just be, like, a fictional account, like, up front, or would they
just
do
do a
something
fictional? Like, I mean, everything is based off, like, real stuff, and a lot of the Game of Thrones things are based off real stuff.
Right.
It's just,
I
like,
mean,
different people.
That would have been fine, but I think it would have, from a marketing perspective, it would have hurt them a little bit, because I think they were banking off the, like, hey, it's about King Henry V, and this crazy story, like.
Like, Robert Pattinson, his character isn't even at the battle in real life, and does not die like that at all.
Not like that. He does die, but not like that.
How does he die? I forget.
He's killed in the battle, but they aren't entirely sure how. It's just known that he's listed in the battle. The Dauphin is
Are you sure?
among the dead. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, not according to Wikipedia. Louis was not present at the Battle of Agincourt, remaining with his father Charles VI at Rouen. He died December 18th, 1415, possibly of dysentery, as recorded by the monk chronicler.
Yeah, but Jicquard Dauphin, the master of the... That's who I assumed. Well, so it was a different Dauphin that died. The guy who's named the Dauphin.
I mean, I'm on the Wikipedia of the movie.
Well, because if you... Yeah, because...
And there's a link to the Dauphin. And it's not him.
Because on the Wikipedia for the notable casualties for the French, Jicquard Dauphin is among the dead.
Who's that?
That's the master of the royal household.
But that's not. But okay, so but I don't know.
I don't
But
think it's the same as the prince. No. So maybe they were combining the two.
Maybe, yeah. Anyway, like, I don't care about that, but just tell me it's like the French Prince. I don't care. Anyway,
So it was produced by Brad Pitt.
yeah, it was, and it was written with Joel Edgerton and the director. I
Oh,
forget the guy's name.
I like Joel Edgerton's character.
I did, and I liked how he died too.
Yeah.
I liked how you find him. Who's Lily Rose Depp? Oh, Jesus Christ. The French princess. That's the daughter of Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis.
That's funny.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn was great in this.
Yeah, he was really good, actually.
Yeah, I love
like
seeing
Sean
Ben Mendelsohn
Harris.
and. Yeah,
Sean
Sean
Harris?
Harris is good.
He played
The Chief Justice.
Yeah, Chief Justice.
Oh yeah, I couldn't. What is he from? I don't know him.
He's Mission Impossible 5.
Oh,
He's the
yeah,
bad guy.
That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing for me in the film, like, it was never clear why they were invading France. Like, what is your end game here? You're gonna invade. They took that one castle city, and
There was this real, like, do you want the real reason or like the
no, the
movie?
real reason is clear if you read about it on Wikipedia. But in the movie, what the hell were they gonna do? Invade all of France?
I guess they were just hoping for the surrender.
Yeah,
Like,
but
with the
that's
surrender
not
that
really
she did.
clear in the film. Like when they go over there and then they get stuck in the siege. I know that really happened, but like, why are you playing this game of fiction and reality when like, okay, they went. How does it help the movie for them to be in a siege? Like, I don't know. Then it helps the French army like build up. So then they go to the next thing, and it's like, okay, you beat the Dauphin, whatever, but it doesn't end with you conquering France. It ends with you just like all of a sudden it just jumps to you like meeting with the king and basically taking his daughter. And I'm like, is that what you were after this whole time? It doesn't make sense. So that's kind of like, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the film, but I don't know. Like it didn't really have an impact. After I found out, I'm like, okay, you didn't really honor the history, and you didn't really make a proper story because it's missing some elements.
And so then at that point you were starting to say like, okay, well, this isn't probably not a win.
Yeah. It's just like you said, it's not for everybody. So that's one reason to maybe knock it down. But if you love it, that's another thing. But I didn't love it. I liked it. So.
That's fair.
All right, are we done with that?
I think we are.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
All right, do you have a fight of the week, Emerson?
I do, based off your suggestion, as I strive to get more creative. So your suggestion, which now that I think about it, is actually quite good, is that you are put into the Dauphin's situation during this fictional duel. You're in the mud, you're in this heavy armor, you're against Henry V, who is a decent duelist. Are you able to find a way out? Do you drown in your own feces? Do you try to talk your way out? What do you do?
Now, if it were me and it was one-on-one, and like looking at the mud, I would realistically take off my armor because I know that I could beat him in wrestling.
Right,
you know
but
what I mean?
here you're in the armor, though.
Yeah. I mean, they would let me take it off if I wanted to, right? Like before
I don't
the
know.
battle.
He orders the kill pretty quick.
Also, wasn't that a bit dishonorable of him? Why didn't he?
Super dishonorable. I guess
Yeah.
it's because it's like, okay, he fell in the field, you can kill him. He can't challenge me.
Yeah.
But it is a little odd that it just, because I thought he was going to say like, he was like going to give him a moment to get up or something, but instead he was just, sorry.
Well,
peasants.
he couldn't get up, I don't think.
Yeah.
But also,
So then what do you do?
In the fight that they showed, the battle, it wasn't that muddy. Like the soldiers weren't slipping around like that. I expected to see more of that because of the way it was prompted during the planning. I know they
I took
showed
it as
mud.
like they
but
kicked up the mud.
yeah,
Fighting itself.
Yeah. Okay, so you're all slippery in that mud, and you've got some skinny idiot looking at you with a dagger. Unfortunately, there's a lot of weak spots. But the movie takes some liberties with his ability to stab in those spots. Like, it's like under the armpits and stuff. It's hard to get someone under the armpit, you know? You have to really get down on the ground with them. Now, is he just going to call the people on me if I slip like 2 more times?
How about I say this? How about I say he won't call the people on you unless you like are down like face down in the mud. Okay, so if you're able to like kind of keep a knee up, or I'll say he won't call the people on you, just to make it fair.
I mean, okay, here's what I would do. If I had one knee down and he was coming
Yeah.
at me with the knife or whatever, I would realistically let him take the first swing, hit me on the armor, wherever it could be.
Yeah.
Because he's probably not going to hit like a vital organ from top down, you know? He might hit me in the head. I was reading that the eye holes are the weakest parts of the armor. So I would probably tuck my head and let him hit the back. Try not to let him like squeak between the back of my neck and the armor there and hit me there. But I would basically, as soon as he made contact, I would grab his hand and wrestle the knife away from him. Because if I bring him into the mud with me, then his advantage is only that he's lighter, but not really if he's on the ground. So that at that point, I'm on top of him. And I mean, he killed the Hotspur guy with the knife, but that was a little unrealistic. I think he did that pretty quick. That guy was a way better fighter than him. So I think that I could probably overpower him. At the very least, if we're both in the mud and I have two hands on the hand that has the dagger, I could pin it to the ground. And I'm not sure what else he could do. Like, he could punch me, and it shows him punching with his bare hand on a lot of the helmets. Yeah,
break his hand.
He was like pummeling them.
I
I'm
know.
like, that doesn't make sense. So
And that's why, like, I thought he should have had at least his greaves or something, or his armored gloves, because
Yeah.
that would make sense. Like,
Yeah.
you punch with armor against armor.
So I actually think that even in the movie, if he had gotten down with the Dauphin, was that how do you say it?
The Dauphin.
The Dauphin. If he had gotten down there with the Dauphin, even though the movie kind of gave him a break on the other fights that he had, I think the Dauphin still has a pretty good chance.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the other things I was somewhat interested in seeing was, like, and something that the movie didn't show, is the Dauphin, like, skilled or not? Because the movie seemed to imply, like, no, he's a bumbling idiot. But then, like, he does challenge him to the duel at the end, which is then made for laughs as he falls into the mud. But I wonder if he had if you were in his position and dragged him down, would he have killed him?
Because the movie kept helping Henry V like win in those situations, I think Henry would have won. But realistically, I think the Dauphin had a pretty good shot at winning.
Yeah,
That's heavy
So-
armor. You have to penetrate that.
that's true. But I mean, Henry seems to have pretty good awareness of, like, where the armor is
And
or where the weak spots are.
yeah, kind of. But it's not easy to wind up your arm hard enough to really do damage when you're on your back.
Right.
That's really hard, and that's how he killed like a couple people, I think. He like during the battle, didn't he like stab the guy that was on top of him multiple times?
Yeah.
Like, that's hard. You have to really wind up, and like if I'm focusing on your arm that has the knife in it, I'm not just gonna like lay on you. I'm gonna grab the arm. You've isolated it when you raised it, so I can grab that, or I can punch you in the face while you hit my armor. Like, I don't know. So the key, I guess, would be to getting on top of him, which I don't think would be
Right.
too hard in the mud because it's basically a coin toss, and I
then
have
once
the
you
weight
get on top of
advantage.
him, he can't push you off either because you got the armor and the weight.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. And
He
I
might
know what
even
I'm
drown
doing.
in the mud.
Yeah, like on top, I know what I'm doing. Like I'm not gonna get reversed by him,
Right.
So,
Can you imagine? He's
Yeah.
like trying to, he's reaching up.
all right, let's move on. We are at 39 minutes. All right, I watched some of the Pacific. I didn't watch all of it yet, but I went back and I just wanted to watch some of the episodes on Peleliu. You guys
Okay.
familiar with that battle?
Yes.
Not particularly.
It's a weird battle because it happened before Iwo Jima, and then there was Okinawa after it, and then before it was like Guadalcanal, and some of the other ones like Tara. For some reason, this one doesn't get talked about as much. But Peleliu was like awful, one of the most horrific battles. There was like, I forget the statistics, but like a lot, like there was the first Rangers came back with like a shred of who they went in with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was all for nothing, like not for nothing, but it was like a strategic airfield, whatever. And then they ended up not even using it.
Right, because they got closer ones, I believe, on, was it, I forget which airfield, but they're able to get
It
a
starts
better
with an
airfield.
L, I think. Yeah. So yeah, and so anyway, I watched those episodes of Peleliu, and it's brutal, man. It's brutal. I always felt like the Pacific was not as good as Band of Brothers, but I think it is as good. It's just different. And
How
the reason,
so?
well, it's different in the sense that, and it's really the wars, and you see this in the Pacific. Now that I've kind of grown to appreciate like what happened there, like Eugene Sledge's brother at the end of the war comes back, and he has like a Nazi flag from Prague, and stuff like that. And Eugene is like, no, there were no women where I was, and it's just like stuff like that. And it's really like the nature of the Pacific theater versus the European theater that. In Band of Brothers, you have this like group of volunteers. They're fighting against the Nazis. They're saving people. They're being celebrated from each town they go to, and it's like very heroic as they die and struggle, whatever. It's a hero story. Here, imagine sending your kid to war, and he gets sent to some shitty island that's not even on the map. It's like labeled as like a set of islands, and you don't know which one he's on. And he goes to this little shitty island called Peleliu that no one gives a fuck about, and that's where so many people are dying. That's where your kid dies. For what? And so you look at that, and it's like Guadalcanal, jungle fighting. What the fuck? That's insane. Booby traps, Peleliu, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and it's just one after another of just terrible, grimy, miserable fighting. A lot of the guys like didn't get proper breaks just because like you couldn't. The Japanese are like so vicious, So you watch the show, and that's kind of the impression you get. You're like, if you're coming from Band of Brothers and you're like, oh, this has to be as good. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. You don't love these guys. You're like, Jesus Christ. It just never ends. It's the same shit. Every episode is the same fucking thing. Now, I'll say, after having watched it a lot, each episode feels very distinct to me. But when I first watched it, it was definitely like, how many islands are they on? And that was kind of the thing, is like, do you realize how many islands we actually just threw bodies at? Like, again and again and again. And each one was like defended meaner and meaner the whole time. So, like, yeah, I think the Pacific is a masterpiece now, which I didn't feel that way at first, but.
Ooh. That's sick, though. No, yeah, the battles. Have you played? I guess we'll talk about this in the video game section.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the battles on the Pacific. It's funny because you're right, Kia. Where like people were celebrated much more in the West, but that's really not the war we wanted to fight. At least not. I mean, not initially.
Yeah.
But the Pacific, like, it was blood for blood every island, and it was just like no one gave up.
And it was still continuing even after the Nazis fell. Like,
I
that
know,
war
I
was
know.
still going.
I know, and we had to drop two of the most powerful weapons ever created, and have the Soviet Union get involved, and threaten to launch an invasion of their home islands for them to finally stop.
Yeah.
Like.
So I played the Mass Effect trilogy.
Okay.
I finally got to Mass Effect 3. I never finished Mass Effect 3 since the first time I played it, when it first released, and it had that controversial ending.
It was horrible. I remember this.
Yeah.
The ending is still pretty bad.
Even the new one.
Yeah.
What is the new one compared to the old one?
It just fills out like some of the gaps.
But correct me if I'm wrong. From what I remember from when I played Mass Effect 3, which was a while ago, what essentially happens is you get a better ending based on the more troops you have at the final battle, right?
Okay, you're talking about your military strength going into the final mission?
Yeah.
Yes, if you have a higher one, you do get to see like your friends will survive instead of die. Like, that part's cool. It's actually great up until like the end, where you see like where you actually like.
What I'm saying is,
make
I remember
the decision.
The endings being is I remember there was one where like everybody dies. There's one where like all technology dies or something, and then there's one where like only the bad guys die. I don't remember.
Yeah, Yeah,
Something
it's
like
the it's you can control the bad guys, you can destroy the bad guys, or you can blend the synthetics and organic beings. And the problem with it is it's not the endings, it's the way the endings are presented, and also like when I remember being hyped, I was telling the lady I worked with at the library, I was like, this game, it's across 3 games. You import your character, your decisions like follow you through the whole game, and I really didn't know like if we were gonna make it, because in Mass Effect 2 you could completely fail the mission. So I really didn't know if we were gonna make it to the end, and the thing is, like, you get to the very end, and a lot of your decisions have made some impact. Like, for example, if you saved Rex in Mass Effect 1, he becomes the Krogan clan leader who people rally behind. But if you didn't save him, then there's like kind of a tougher guy who people don't like as much. So when it comes to saving or stopping the genophage and like getting the Krogan on your side, people can be convinced to accept Rex as the leader, but not the new guy. So when it comes to like galactic strength, you could end up losing the Krogan or the Solarians or whatever because of that decision, right?
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's
Like
it's really cool. So stuff like that really does compound as you go through the game. But when you get to the end, and then it just becomes like, okay, everything else you did before is done now. Now it's the endings. And it's just like, what? And also, like you said, one of them is to destroy. The problem with the destroy ending is like you literally pick destroy and then it's over. Like you don't see what happens at all, really. Also, that's the only one where Shepard may possibly live, but it just shows like some rubble and then you hear breathing. So it's like everything is just like a cliffhanger. Like, why the fuck would you end a trilogy like that? That's kind of, I don't like that with like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. The main conflict ends and then this, like, everyone says goodbye and that's the ending. I think you need to let those stories kind of breathe a little bit more.
Right.
And this is one, like, anyway, it's an old game, so it's not really spoilers, but like I feel like Commander Shepard should always die. I chose to blend the organics and synthetics because I feel like synthetic beings are always going to, and this is why the Reapers are like killing organics, is that the synthetic beings will always take over the organics. It happens in every cycle, right?
Right.
So to me, it's inevitable that eventually they're just going to be better than us, and there's no organic life at all. So we might as well just like join them while we can, is what I think. And the game even says like we've tried that before, but the organics weren't ready, and we don't know how to tell when organics are ready. And I'm like, okay, well, we're ready. So,
It's now or never.
so I do like, I had a really great time. Mass Effect 2 is the best game I've ever played still. But yeah, that ending sucked. Still sucks. So, all right, Ev, you want to talk about Terminator Dark Fate?
Yes, I do. So this has been a long time coming. You guys can probably guess what I think of it. This movie is a
You probably
massive
loved it.
loss.
Oh.
Oh no, this movie is a massive loss. But the way I'll describe it is there are a few golden points in a just sea of garbage. I'll just go down my notes so I don't get ahead of myself.
Just don't
but,
spoil it. It's pretty
without
new still.
Fine. Without spoiling it.
Were you going to spoil it if I didn't say anything?
Yeah, I was gonna spoil it because I really want to talk about it in detail. Can I not talk about it in detail?
I mean, we could talk about it at the end. We'll say it just because it's brand new. Some people really like Terminator, so
I really like Terminator, but
Yeah.
yeah, but they actually care about Dark Fate. Do you want to just leave it for the end then?
fine. I'll leave it for the end.
Okay. All right. Trailers. Did you guys see that Witcher trailer?
I did.
Yep.
What do you think?
It looks all right. A lot of people I've talked to said they think it kind of looks like Game of Thrones-esque. It looks like it could be bad, but I'm
don't see
actually
any
kind of
Game of
excited
Thrones.
for it.
Do you get
Because
Game of
it's
Thrones
like
vibes?
medieval nonsense.
I don't really see Game of Thrones from it. I just see like a fantasy thriller.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I do see though, Netflix syndrome. Because that last shot of him with the black eyes, that has the last 20 minutes of episode 13 written all over it.
Yeah, and it's disturbing. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm sure I'll be let down, but it's something that like was not on my radar, and now it's like very on my radar. And I'm interested for it. I have none of these preconceived notions from the games or the books. I'm
The
just like,
game,
okay.
Geralt was cool. Geralt, how do you say his name? Geralt, right?
I don't know.
Geralt, I
It's
think.
Geralt, yeah. Geralt was pretty cool in the game, in Witcher 3 anyway. There are a lot of fantasy things in it, and apparently the story is really good, but I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I just couldn't. I tried like 5 times to get into that game. And I think that the biggest question mark right now is Henry Cavill's acting. Because he obviously has the look, and he's doing the Geralt voice, but can he carry a show? And not just be like a wooden one-note person? Because Geralt is kind of like that, but he also has like some nuance to him that I'm not I haven't seen in the trailer, you know?
Right.
I just see like witty lines from Henry Cavill and like looking pretty, you know? But it's also
think
Witcher
he's,
1, and I only know Witcher 3, and so it's different because those
Well,
are
it's
also
also
based
this
on
is
the book.
based off the books. Yeah. So
And the game is based off the books too, but it's different, obviously.
yeah, there's little changes each time.
So I don't know. Like I'm gonna watch it, but I sense that it might have some filler episodes that if you don't like that setting, you might not care for.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. That's just my guess. Did you guys see the Mandalorian trailer?
I did.
Yes, I did.
It looks good. Do you think we're gonna see Pedro Pascal's face?
I hope
I
not.
can see it being at the end. Oh,
That
but
is
the
weird,
things-
though.
the
You
things
want
that
to connect
interested-
with them.
Yeah, but the things that I noticed that like there's the super battle droids in the background of one of
Yeah.
them. So that was
Yeah.
just interesting. I was curious about that. And then, Bill Burr, it was nice seeing him, although I can't really take him seriously.
You know, he hates all this like nerdy shit.
Really?
He makes fun of it all the time on the podcast.
Why does he do it?
I guess he likes acting.
Or for the money.
I mean, I don't think he's getting paid a lot for that. You could get anyone to do that. You don't need Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Do you think he has a big role?
Probably not. I'm guessing he's going to be like kind of important in one episode.
Either that or he dies.
Have you guys signed up for it yet?
No.
Disney, not
I'll
yet.
sign up when it comes out.
Yeah,
I wanna try to get a
might
deal on it.
try to pirate it. We'll see. Let's see if you can get a quality pirate. I'm not sure I need to pay $15 a month for that.
Well, it's only $7 right now.
No.
They're going to raise it, but right now it's launching at like $6.99 a month, which is their way of trying to get subscribers.
Because I'd rather have Hulu, which I've been paying $1 a month for. Actually, I think it's up
Hulu's
this
good.
month.
You guys
Yeah.
think there'll give me a discount if I tell them I was on the Disney Channel?
Only if you tell us what you were on the Disney Channel.
I was a field reporter. And that's as far as I'll go. And that's...
All right, time for Everett's box office beat.
Okay. So, not a lot of changes this week, but I'm going to streamline it. It's basically, okay, starting at number 10. Number 10 is Arctic Dogs in its first week. It's made $3.1 million. I don't believe that was on the last list, so
Yeah.
move on. Number 9 is Motherless Brooklyn. That is a new release for this week.
With
So yeah,
Edward
it's a new
Norton.
release. Yeah, that's Edward Norton. I forget who else. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's made 3.6 million so far.
It had decent
I mean,
reviews.
I kind of wanted to see that, but
I mean, when I
I
say
don't
decent,
know.
I mean like 50-50.
yeah, okay. Number 8 was Black and Blue. That was number 6 last week. It's in its second week. It's currently made 15 million in total. It's made 4 million this week. So yeah, that's in
Do you guys
decline
know the
so
plot
far.
of that movie?
No.
No.
So it's a female black cop who came from the ghetto, and now she's like patrolling the area that she grew up in. And then I don't know the guy's race, but I'm assuming it's a white cop who does something bad that she observes, and then they try to like hunt her for blowing the whistle or something. So she ends up like on the
Oh.
run in the ghetto.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it has potential, but it's just too like it's too on the nose with what do you
I
call
mean-
it when something's like very timely, topical. It's too topical.
It's down 64% from last week. So that's
Yeah, I mean those movies don't usually do well anyway.
anyway. Moving on. So number 7 is Countdown. That was number 5 last week. It's in its second week. Currently made 17 million so far. It's made 5 million this week. Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? I don't really know much about Countdown. I really don't care.
You're reverting back to what you were doing last week, Ev.
Well, I don't really care about That's the movie where it's like
Yeah.
the app tells you're gonna die, right?
We know. What number was that?
I just said it. It was number 5 last week.
Number 5. No. What number is it this week?
Number 7.
Didn't I say don't read the money for anything but the top 3?
You said how? I have it written right here. I'm following a list.
Everson, you heard that, right?
Yeah.
He's reading number 7. And he's giving us his thoughts on it again.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to give you my thoughts?
I said don't comment.
I told you not to do it.
Just
he was
read.
telling us both what we had to do at the start.
Just read it. Just read the damn list. Number 3 is just 3, 2, 1 is just a little different. That's all.
Fine. All right.
And most of the time you don't know what to say anyway, and that's what you end up saying. You're like, I don't really care about Countdown, so I don't know what to say. Like, we're trying to cut that out of the show.
Great for our listeners because we're like, we don't care about this, but you're gonna hear about it. God damn it!
All right, fine. I'll move on to number 6 in the list. Is Zombieland Double Tap. In its 3rd week, has made $7 million this week. It was number 4
He said the
last
money
week.
again.
He said Everett. Damn it!
Okay,
You only say the money for the top 3 position.
what's the point of doing a box office listing if I don't say how much money it's made?
we're just reading what movies are out.
There's like no difference
Everett,
though.
Yeah, no, the difference is that when you only read the money for the top 3, that's like, okay, these are the 3 important ones we spend a little more time on. But when you read the money for the top 10, it ends up going like a little longer, and it's like, it's not as valuable because no one cares about like number 7, for example.
Yeah,
But
and
the
also,
top 3,
like you're saying, it made $7 million this week. I don't know what that means. And I don't like. I need you to tell me how much money it's made overall, how much money it made last week for that $7 million to make sense of this week.
But that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear about that for all the movies we don't care about. Just like Emerson said.
Okay, well, all right. It takes a second for it to nail in for me. Okay, so the real way. I'll do it the real way this time. Number 5 is The Addams Family in its 4th week. That was number 3 last week.
Good.
Number 4 is Harriet in its 1st week.
Oh shit.
Now we're in the
Harriet's
top.
Still in there.
Yeah.
Wait,
it's
first
still
week
in
you
there.
said?
It's in its 1st week. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was second week. Okay.
Yeah. Number 3 is Maleficent, down from number 2 in its 3rd week. Number 2 is Joker.
no, you're supposed to read the money for the top 3, Everett. That was just number 3.
I was gonna let him go on that one, but yeah.
All right. I mean, Maleficent. You guys are mixing my chords. Okay. Maleficent's number 3. It's currently made $84 million. It's made $12 million this week. It's down 51%.
Wait. Say that a little slower.
It's currently made $84 million domestic, and it's made $12 million this week, 51% down from last week.
Okay, yeah.
12 million this week out. From what I heard, it's not very good. That's all
It
right.
made 18 last week.
It has
so-
a following, yeah. All right, Joker.
Number 2 is Joker. It's made $299 million domestic in its 5th week. It's in its decline. It's made $13 million this week. That's 48%
Wait,
down from last week.
299. What about its overall? Like what that record it was going for?
Let's find out. Overall, it's made $934 million worldwide.
934. What was it last week? Do you know?
Yeah, last week it was. Well, I don't have it worldwide last week, but domestic it was $277 million last week.
And what is
So-
it domestic this time?
299.
20,000 domestic. It could,
299 million domestic.
yeah, it could make it to a billion.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it could.
it's
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 in its
limping.
decline.
They need to do a
re-release with
Yeah,
extended
re-release.
footage where
Yeah.
it's like one scene of him without being in makeup.
the leaked
He
sex
says-
tape with Penny and oh wait, I shouldn't spoil it. All right, number 1.
Jesus Christ. Number 1 is Terminator Dark Fate in its 1st week. It's made 29 million overall so far domestic. So
Number 1, I guess because
Yeah.
it's going against Joker.
because it's opening weekend. So yeah, obviously that's going to have a big push, but I mean, I'd have to compare it. I'd have to compare it to next week in order to see how well it does. But I have a lot to say about Terminator when I get there eventually. So
Okay. All right, news. Hank Pym, Ant Man 3. You guys heard about this?
Vaguely.
Where is it? All right, Ant Man 3 is in development with Peyton Reed set to return as director, which I'm kind of not thrilled about.
Why?
I love the first one, but the second one was kind of a wasted opportunity. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was because Ghost was weird and like.
Ghost was weird. There was no larger implications for the MCU other than the quantum realm, which didn't really make sense. And I don't know. Like, then you have what's her name, Janet Van Dyne, come back, and she was weird. And
That was so weird. Oh my god! I swear, if she's like flying around like Superman or something in this third one, I'm gonna cry.
So it's weird. But anyway, Michael Douglas is coming back, which
He's
means
gonna
that
die.
probably Michelle Pfeiffer is coming back. And her daughter, his daughter is older now.
yeah,
That's true.
you're right.
So that could be interesting.
Maybe that's what it's going to be. Like him and his daughter or something. I don't know. She needs a new gimmick. Like she could either be the new Wasp, but I don't know. I don't think she should be the new Ant-Man unless Paul Rudd's like not Ant-Man. So
I mean, I'm telling you, they haven't had a death in the Ant-Man franchise, if at all, in a long time. So someone's got to die in this one. Hank Pym's probably got to die. Like,
could
what
be
other
Hank
purpose
Pym.
does he serve?
Well, the only problem with Hank Pym dying is like, what's the point of bringing Janet Van Dyne back if?
To watch him die, kid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could. I mean, she sacrificed herself for him last time, so they could just reverse it. Like he sacrificed himself for her in some way or form.
All right, so Game of Thrones writers have left the Star Wars project. The Star Wars project that they
Oh yeah.
reportedly rushed Game of Thrones for. Like they could have done more Game of Thrones. They chose not to because they wanted to do the Star Wars thing. So they blew Game of Thrones, and now they've left this project. Their comment was, "We love Star Wars. When George Lucas built it, he built us too. Getting to talk about Star Wars with him and the current Star Wars team was a thrill of a lifetime, and we will always be indebted to that saga that changed everything." And then Kathleen Kennedy said, "David Beinoff and Dan Weiss are incredible storytellers. We hope to include them in the journey forward when they are able to step away from their busy schedule to focus on Star Wars." I don't think they have a busy schedule right now, dude.
I can't imagine.
Not anymore.
I wonder.
There is something
Does-
though. Isn't there something that they're doing?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's find out.
I'll look it up. What were you gonna say, Emerson?
Did the article you read say anything about why exactly they're not with the Star Wars anymore?
No, and I don't think they would say why exactly.
So what do you think that is? Do you think it was their choice? Do you think they got kicked out because of Game of Thrones?
I think Game of Thrones, how they handled it, and like the general sort of like the reception for them is really low right now. Like no one wants to see them. So it's pretty hard to sell something, even Star Wars, when like everyone's like, fuck this movie, fuck these people. There are still some people that love Star Wars no matter what, but also Star Wars on its own has been kind of shaky too.
Right.
So I think they probably are looking at it like, we don't want to keep making movies at a really quick pace because it's oversaturating and people aren't that into it right now. So they're looking at like picking their projects a little more carefully. On top of that, you're not going to like put your faith. When they were talking to the Game of Thrones guys, season 8 hadn't happened yet.
And everyone loved them. They were like.
I mean, some people were criticizing it, but to be fair, like I didn't think the show was that bad until like some parts of season 8 were a bit rushed. But
now they're the devil to a lot of people. I still see threads on Reddit today, like posted recently, that are yelling at them. Like there are people whose entire lives seem to devolve around hating these people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are like mega fans that they feel like their lives got ruined by them, and they like send them death threats and a whole bunch of other shit. Like super fans.
they wrote Gemini Man, At least one of them did. David Beinoff.
He also did X-Men Origins of Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put like Star Wars is too shaky right now to have those guys do it. Like you don't trust them really, and fortunately for them, they're not fast tracking everything. Like they're not trying to be Marvel right now, so they're taking their time because if they were fast tracking, this movie would have already been in production and it would have been bad. Did you guys read their interview?
No.
No.
They finally started talking about their process for writing Game of Thrones, and they're like, yeah, we don't know why George trusted us with his life's work. Like, they didn't mean it that way, but taken out of context, it sounds hilarious, because in hindsight, it's like, yeah, why did you choose those guys? Turns out, no real good reason other than they knew who Jon Snow's mother was. And so, like, that meant that they had read it. And so he took them, but they didn't have any real experience, so I don't know whose fault it really is. To be honest, like, if they really didn't know what they were doing, they did, aside from, like, taking the writing from the books, they did a really good job of producing that show. It's just, like, at the ending, they botched the ending for some reason. I don't know. And I suspect that maybe George R.R. Martin doesn't have a real ending. And maybe that's why the ending that they went with was like a version of his ending. And that's why it didn't really make sense. And the groundwork for setting it up didn't really work. You know what I'm saying?
Wait,
Yeah.
isn't George R.R. Martin like really behind in finishing off Game of Thrones?
He's slow.
He's behind, but he knows what he's doing. He recently said that the next book is going to be out soon, but then he still has the last one. He says that he might write some episodes for the Game of Thrones prequel, which we'll talk about, which is, I'll just talk about now. It's the Targaryen Civil War, which I don't know that much about. He says he might write some episodes for it, but not until he finishes Winds of Winter.
I thought that show got shot down though. Is it still in production?
No, they shot down some other one. I forget which one it was. If you could find it. The Targaryen Civil War one is the one that they're keeping.
Okay.
Game of Thrones spin-off shows. It's recently announced. I forgot that they had canceled one of them.
Maybe they canceled the one about Bran the Builder. Maybe that's what I was thinking about.
Isn't that Bran from the show?
Well, no, because remember, there's the original
named
Bran
after him?
he built the wall. Like they were gonna do like a whole like, so like you'd probably hate it, like Elves in the Forest type shit.
Oh, I think that they actually had a pilot that HBO was rejected.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, October. Jane Goldman's. Okay, hang on. We're having conversations about how do we smartly continue Game of Thrones, but we have to be really thoughtful about not killing the golden goose and not putting on shows that aren't up to that quality level, which is too many. The Age of Heroes pilot, tentatively named The Long Night. So it's basically the White Walkers again. But
Great.
yeah, it's what we said. Like, you can't really have too many confrontations with the White Walkers. Like, you either beat them or you don't. The pilot was filmed starring Naomi Watts, Miranda Richardson, Jamie Campbell Bower. So that was rejected recently. House of the Dragon, which is the Targaryen dynasty of 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones, has been commissioned for a full 10-episode series. 10 episodes, that's it? Or is it per season?
Honestly,
sometimes less is more.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I like seeing the format where they have like a
miniseries?
set story and they let it play out and then they end it. Like they don't continue it on, they don't drag it out.
Everything is going to be a prequel that they're discussing. And maybe even just a spin-off, not even like a real prequel.
Didn't you say something once about they were going to do something about like Rob's War? Or like Robert's War?
Robert's Rebellion.
Robert's Rebellion.
That should be like a movie. You could do that in a movie.
Yeah.
Because you already have the context for the characters, and you really just need to see like the rebellion play out. It's not a show. Like, you can't go on season for season.
Do you think they could do that in like a 2-hour runtime?
Yeah, or do a 2-part movie. I mean, they can do whatever they want. Make it a miniseries, like a 4-part miniseries. Who cares? But that's a story definitely I think should be on screen. Okay, Rian Johnson and Star Wars. when discussing his upcoming trilogy, you guys remember how he's doing a trilogy?
Yeah.
He says, "We're still engaged with Lucasfilm and we'll wait and see. No updates on it at this moment, but yeah."
Oh God.
So it's weird because his movie Knives Out is getting good reviews and it's out right now. But I think, the whole Star Wars thing, it's like, it's not so hot. It's not a hot property right now.
And it shouldn't be.
It's on the verge of collapse, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, a few
down
more
there.
bad ones. And I bet you, because I got it spoiled, this third movie, when it comes out, and if it bombs like I think it will, assuming that this leak was true.
Yep.
You're going to have to take a
all
big
come
break from Star
crashing
Wars.
down.
Yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily Star Wars. Just stop telling these type of stupid stories. We've seen,
Yeah.
good versus evil, light and dark.
Yeah.
Who cares?
They're just gonna tank the franchise. It's gonna suck.
All right. So that was Rian Johnson. Apparently there's a Cruella movie coming out, and they leaked some photos of Emma Stone as Cruella.
The band
Do they-
Cruella?
do-
No, Cruella DeVille.
Do
Yeah.
they need a movie about Cruella DeVille?
I don't know. But, I mean, it looks like it's going to be, like, funny, like Maleficent, but funny. I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck
Otherwise-
with that. PETA's gonna be on your ass for that one.
Yeah. Jason Momoa on the Snyder Cut, he says, "I have seen it. I've seen the Snyder Cut." And, people think that it's not finished. He says, "Oh, you don't think Zack couldn't finish? I think the public needs to see it. I'm obviously indebted to Warner and DC, and I don't know how they feel about it, but as a fan, I'm very happy I got to see it." This is the only interesting thing about this is, like, that he actually finished his version of the movie. And I wouldn't mind watching it. I'd like to see it.
I think we had a discussion a while ago about this, but why does Zack Snyder do that when he makes movies? Why does he release a normal version that's uncut or that's been cut up,
Well,
and then he has a separate version of it?
No, that was a different thing. He does do what you just said, but this one he got fired or sort of asked to leave, remember? So he made the movie and then they cut it up with who's the other guy? Joss Whedon, remember?
I thought it was his something with his daughter happened that he had to leave production.
Yeah, that's what they said. He had family things, but they obviously didn't want him to do it. He's not doing any other ones. So they're kind of done with him. Disney and Sony execs say that they heard the feedback out there. The fan base, which is important to all of us, seemed to really respond to what Tom and his folks have done with our people. They like the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Kevin Feige were involved in the 2 Spider-Man films. We heard feedback out there that suggested that joining forces once again was probably a really good idea. And then about finding success with Into the Spider-Verse. Yes, we have, but I agree with my distinguished colleague. This was a classic win-win-win. A win for Sony, a win for Disney, a win for the fans. The only thing I would say is that news cycles and the rhythm of negotiations do not necessarily overlap, and this is, in the words of Shakespeare, a consummation devoutly to be wished. We would have gotten there, and the news got ahead of some things. That's what I was saying. That whole negotiation thing, that was the deals were already done, and then the media caught wind of it and probably intentionally leaked, right? To kickstart whatever point they were. We were not getting the current information.
No, it wasn't today this came out. It's hey, we heard about this that may have happened 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It was a ploy to get attention.
Okay, gaming. EA Sports cancels NBA Live 20. The reason this is interesting, I don't care about NBA Live, but the reason this is interesting is because EA has monopolized the sports, video game sports market.
Yeah.
If you guys are unaware, they have all the rights to the NFL teams, so no one can make a football team with NFL teams except for Madden, which is why the game has not evolved at all, but people still buy it every year. Same as FIFA. FIFA has some other team licenses, but not the ones that you want. So, I'm sorry, PES is the other one, Pro Evolution Soccer. FIFA has all the ones that you want, and that's why they continue to survive.
You haven't played FIFA in forever.
So, but NBA Live is the one that does have competition. It has 2K. NBA 2K, something like that, right?
So it's interesting that they would bail out of this one.
Well, the competition means that they are they're being forced to change. So they canceled it. Not to say that it's gone forever, but they're not going to announce NBA Live 20. Instead, we're expanding our vision, learning hard into the new leading edge platforms, and taking time to ensure we deliver against the opportunity for our players. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like they're trying to make a better game. And that's, capitalism the way it should be.
Yeah.
There's a market, competition, and innovation.
Yeah,
we're going to monopolize this shit and milk it for all we got.
Yeah, and we will literally charge you for any little thing you'll give me, and we're going to wait till the bootlickers start marching in to say, but the devs' families, what will they do?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't buy the game, you're not supporting the all the families. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, someone said that to me online. All right, about Ghost Recon. For Battlefield 5, they dropped the Pacific on Halloween. It has the Iwo Jima map, and then it has like another map that's like that island map or something. They're both really cool. I will say, like, SMGs, unless you're like storming the tunnels of Mount Suribachi, the SMGs are not super helpful because you're
range.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time because I'm trying to rank up as a medic to clean out that all the guns so I can unlock them, but it's really hard to get kills as a medic. Like on the Japanese side, you can go all the way to your back sector and use your big giant gun on the beach as the Americans are trying to invade. That's pretty cool. It has like 6 sectors. There's the iconic black sand of Iwo Jima. There's all the bunkers, and there's tanks. You can come in on the landing craft. There's a lot of planes. It's pretty fun. The other one is like a jungle-ish island map that doesn't seem to be based on any specific battle, but just like Pacific Island jungle stuff. That's really cool too. I can't do anything with the SMG though. So I'm really enjoying both of the maps, and I don't really care even to play the other ones. I like the European town maps, but for now, like, I'm pretty content to just play Iwo Jima. Yeah,
that's awesome. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
all right, Ev, you want to talk Terminator Dark Fate?
Can I go into spoilers this time?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. All right. So, like I said earlier, this movie is a massive loss for me. There's a lot of fucking problems with this movie. Let me find my notes. All right. So, starting off, as you probably have guessed, this movie has terrible CGI. There are points in this movie where you'll be watching like scenes, and it's like the same generic stuff: jumping, fighting, moving around. It changes into like Rubber Neo from The Matrix. It's completely noticeable. It has not changed or improved at all. Second is, if you're going to see this movie, you have to realize that if you're a major fan of the Terminator series like I am, and you're not a big fan of what they've been doing currently, there are 3 scenes in this movie that you will like. The beginning, one that happens in the middle, and the ending. And that's it. The rest of it is filler garbage where nothing happens.
What do you mean nothing happens? Are they just running away?
So basically the plot of the movie is what we talked about like in other episodes. And going into spoilers, the movie starts off right after Terminator 2. It's young Linda Hamilton and young Edward Furlong are sitting on a beach at a bar, and young Arnie comes up and straight up shotguns John Connor right in the chest. And he dies. Like, first 5 minutes of the movie.
Young Arnie? Is that what you said?
Yeah, young Arnold Schwarzenegger comes in and shotguns John Connor right in the chest. Like
Terminator
T2.
1 Arnold?
Like
T2?
they aged him down. Like Terminator 2, he's got some scruff. He's in like a tank top. Yeah, he shotguns John Connor right in the chest, and he dies right in the beginning of the movie.
Okay, that's cool.
And honestly, it's a really cool scene. And then just horrible stuff happens. Like, first of all, what's his name? Gabriel Luna, the guy who plays the new Terminator, is terrible.
Why?
Because his acting talent in this movie is very lackluster. He tries for attempts at comedy that don't work. He has like one-liners that don't work. He has like the same generic, non-scary look the entire time, and it's not fun to look at. His Terminator look. Do you remember how the T-1000 had like a threatening liquid metal look? Like, regardless of how the CGI looked at that time, it looked unique. They're obviously trying to go for something like that with this, but it looks like an oil slick instead of metal, because it's like black sludge that makes up his liquid form. It looks awful. Also adding on, like as this movie goes on, Skynet does not exist anymore. So they've completely scrapped the entire Terminator franchise and rebooted it. So basically, Sarah Connor went back and destroyed Cyberdyne. That all worked. It is now something called Legion, a cyber warfare platform that nuked the planet instead. And in the future, I wanted to make a comment to Emerson because remember back when we saw what was it, Alita Battle Angel? We were talking about how we like seeing those scenes of like battle and stuff, and we want to see more of that. So they kind of do a reverse of that in this movie, where in the middle of a scene where Sarah Connor's talking to Grace, who's the new like protector, it just cuts out of nowhere with no context to a flashback of when she was in war, and it makes no sense. It's horribly animated, and it just ends immediately. Like they don't talk about it at all.
Great.
And the new Terminators in the future that they have do not look like Terminators. While I will admit it's a new system, it's a new like cyber warfare thing. It's not Skynet. So things are bound to be different. They're not Terminators anymore. They look like aliens. Like I want you to imagine a bipedal creature with 4 liquid tendrils coming out of its back and no arms. That's what the Terminators are that attack them. They look awful, and they move awful, and they make no sense.
So James Cameron okayed this?
You know what? I guess that what he made is not good.
Avatar 2 is going to be interesting.
I only have a couple more notes and then I'll
trying
end
to find a picture of this thing because it sounds dumb as hell.
Well, do you remember the trailers? How they had like those like weird? They had like the weird ones that like glitched out of one another in the future scene. It looks kind of like that. It's in the trailer somewhere, and it's a lot worse. But anyway, I'm almost done. So the other thing I wanted to say was they've definitely opted for diversity over quality with this movie. They make a lot of feminist comments in this movie.
I'm sorry. How is that not quality?
Because instead of focusing on a movie where you could make it artful, well-made, well-written, well-acted, and a whole bunch of other things that could just improve the quality of the production, you can obviously see in this movie that they've gone for a very like modern approach. The language is very modern. A lot of the lines don't work. A lot of the
wait. What do you mean by modern? Like what? As opposed to what?
As opposed to like any other Terminator movie you've seen, where they like
the 80s.
How do I explain this? Though there will be scenes where Grace from 2040, who comes back and is completely useless. By the way, she and Danny, who's like the new leader of the Resistance, they're both completely useless in their own separate ways. They have like nothing to do the entire movie, and their writing is awful. They have terrible lines. Like there's one part.
But what do you mean by modern lines?
Like modern dialogue. Like when I compare this to like the
hey
old
bro, that's lit.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah,
these
like
are
that.
not Terminators. These are aliens.
Yeah,
I mean,
see what I
okay.
mean?
Is
like
that,
they have stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
they shouldn't do that.
This is stupid. They
oh, you're looking at it? Oh.
Yeah,
send me a picture.
Oh my god. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just send you the video and
I'll put it on our Facebook
It's not
page.
Terminator anymore. It's something else.
Actually, I shouldn't do that because I might get
yeah, you absolutely should not
banned or
send
something.
this anywhere. Start it like a minute in. I'm sending it in our chat. It's someone filming in the theater, but start it a minute in, and these things start coming out and using like tails. Oh god.
It's like tendrils. Like they're not good at all. They don't look good. It looks like they turned Skynet's apocalypse in the future into like a dystopian, like cyberpunk looking thing. It does not look like Terminator anymore at all. And honestly, I don't think there's a way back from this. If I had to place this movie in the rankings of all the Terminator movies, I would maybe put this slightly above Genesis, just because Genesis was just plain awful. What? There were no redeeming features about it at all.
From what you're describing about it, this sounds like it's just as bad, if not worse, than Genesis.
Well, the only reason why I say it's slightly better than Genesis is because it has those 3 beautiful scenes. the one at the beginning where John Connor dies, the one in the middle where they meet the old Arnold, and he's like, he carries that section of the movie, and then the ending where pretty much everybody dies.
I don't hate this Terminator design, to be honest.
I do. It doesn't look like a Terminator. It looks like an alien. In fact, it reminds me of a thing from Gears of War 3.
I just don't care about the Terminator endoskeleton, really.
Well, here's my logic with it. Comparing it to the older movies, when you see the old Terminators, like the endoskeletons and like how Arnold used to fight and the T-1000 and its like, it's liquid metal, they seem a lot more threatening when they're like unthinking, unfeeling robots that are coming to murder you. And I know that's like
movie.
I know that's the work of the movie. But no, I'm saying in terms of the design, that's the whole reason why I bought those the Terminator Hot Toys figure, because when you look at it, there's nothing else like it. It's unique in the way it looks. When you compare those to the new Terminators, like Gabriel Luna's Terminator and these alien-looking things, they're not unfeeling, unloving robots anymore. They're erratic, dangerous animals. They're animalistic. They move constantly. They growl. They walk on all fours. Yeah, they're predators. They have like slanted legs and everything. They look like velociraptors, to be honest. They're like pack hunters. It's not the same at all. And it's disappointing. I don't understand how people can go into this being fans of the previous franchise and still love it.
I didn't hate Genesis. I just thought that some of the casting was weird. But I don't care about Terminator that much. I think T1 is really good. T2 is really good, like a masterpiece of film almost. And the rest are like, I think they got worse as they went. But that means that T3 isn't that bad. Like, it does feel like it's from the T2 universe, Like, it does feel like a sequel. It's just not a good one. But it's not that bad. And then Genesis, or what was it? What's the other one? The Christian Bale one?
It's Salvation.
That's like a different thing. Yeah, it's a different thing. Like, I'm okay with it. Obviously, they can't just keep doing the same damn movie again. So, Salvation is something else. At that point, either continue with Salvation and like end it, or like just don't go back in time, which is what they did. And I don't think anyone really cares. And now they're like, I don't know, just end it. End the damn thing.
Yeah, I know, but money.
Yeah.
I actually did see something here on Yahoo when I opened up my browser. The stars put their weight behind Terminator Dark Fate or some shit like that.
Oh, God.
Let's see if I can find it. Yeah.
I mean,
original Terminator stars put their weight behind the movie. Let's see if I can find an interesting quote. I don't think they're. I don't know why it says that. It's obviously clickbait. Fucking Yahoo. Oh wait. Okay, let's listen to this. It would feel disingenuous if you were to do a movie that crossed the Mexican-American border with a Mexican national and didn't do that in some way.
I think they're referring to the Border Patrol thing.
Yeah,
that's a Border Patrol scene.
Okay, but that's not what I feel like is the criticism of the movie. It's just a bad movie. So now it sounds like they're trying to...
It doesn't say anything from the stars, yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys are criticizing the movie because it does a Border Patrol scene. It's like, no, it's a bad movie.
I also saw something that said it's flopping hard.
I think the quote you were looking for was something along the lines of, good luck trying to pass Border Patrol with a Mexican national and a woman who's had her own episode of America's Most Wanted. Because that's a direct quote from the movie when they're talking. And like, I don't know.
That's not
like
racist, though.
They spend like half the movie like trying to cross the border. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, like that's why I said like half part of this movie is like where nothing happens. Like after John Connor dies, you see all the normal stuff. Like Gabriel Luna comes back from the future, Grace comes back from the future. You see them kick the shit out of people, and then like nothing happens. They find Danny, who's like the new girl, and they just travel and they move around from point to point. Nothing happens for like 45 minutes, and then Gabriel Luna attacks and nothing happens, and then they meet Arnold, and then they get in the plane, and then it ends. Like, it's literally just them talking about what happens for a majority of the movie. Like, it's something else.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't spend any time or money on it.
Yeah, trust me.
All right, I don't know what we're gonna do next for next week. You guys have any ideas?
No. I guess we could go. Let me look at this.
Movies coming soon. Midway?
Oh God, please no. Please, for the love of God, no. Just watch the trailer. It looks so
I
bad.
haven't seen anything.
I saw a trailer for that last night.
It looks so bad. Please watch the trailer, Kia. It's horrible. They're like we're outnumbered, we're outgunned, we're the only ones who can do this. Aaron Eckhart's in it. It's just an action movie. They're like,
Yeah, it looks kind of weird.
it looks horrible.
Doctor Sleep comes out soon. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Which one's
Does
that
it come
one?
out this week?
That's
It's sequel to The Shining.
Yeah, it's the 8th.
No. I don't. If you guys want to, I don't really care. We'll have to find something. Wasn't there something that maybe The Light? No, it's not even really out. We'll have to think about it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'm looking at Midway though.
Please don't, for the love of God. It looks so bad. Watch.
It looks like it might be so bad that it's good. You know.
No, I
What,
think
like
it's
The
just gonna
Room
be
so bad it's good?
hot garbage.
Possibly. Yeah. Anyway,
I
all
don't know.
right. See you guys
Figure
next
it out.
time.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Iron Coop Fights Movies. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, review our podcast on iTunes so that we can spread the show around. To contact the show, you can reach us at theironcoob@gmail.com and on Instagram at theironcoob. Join us for another edition of the Iron Coop Fights Movies.